So when we last met, I think we had sort of maybe settled on Curtis. How do you say that? Casefang?
Casfang, yeah.
Casfang. Because one, he lives in a historic district, and two, he would be good for COA. Also had requested additional information from 4 people, which we have received. And in addition, we also received a letter of interest from John Zellweger. John Reese had recommended him, and he submitted his information on the same day as our last meeting. So, have you had a chance to look over those materials, Nick?
No, but
okay.
But it's okay. We can.
All right.
We can figure out what we need. I think the main thing is to sort of back into it by deciding what set of credentials or location, or do we need a male or female or what, and sort of back into what candidates we might want to go with based on that.
Okay. Well, John Zellweger is an architect. He had been with Clearscapes for a number of years, and then he went out on his own. So he has quite a bit of experience in historic rehabilitation projects, he says. So I don't know whether his experience would be enough to put him on COA right away instead of Curtis, or I don't know.
Right. Well, Curtis is a known quantity and has been working on the DRAC. And Tanya just cleared with me to put Fred Belden from Clearscapes on the panel for DRAC as well, to be sure they get enough people to show up for those meetings. Of course, Clearscapes probably went through has gone through some turmoil and changes in the aftermath of the death of their founder. And so I don't know what all is going on with them, but I have nothing to say negative about Dealwig or whatever his name was.
Yeah, okay, so he's no longer with Clearscapes. He's opened his own.
Yeah. So I don't know whether they pushed him out because he wasn't very good, or whether the business has dropped off 10 or 15% because of the death of the Rainmaker.
It may also be that he was wanting to start his own firm. I mean, that's just part of his former work history. That's all we know. So
yeah, it's my impression that it has been several years since he has.
Okay. Okay. Well, in that sense, I think he has value, because we need to reach out beyond Clearscapes. I think there's value in that. We get to where we only work with 3 or 4 different firms, and if we can broaden that out, it's probably a good thing. That said, what do you all see, Colette, Aaron, as being the areas where we better be sure we're covered? Is there an area other than COA that jumps out at you as where we may really need somebody?
My concern is always with ensuring that we have enough people who live in a district or a landmark. So I don't recall quite where we are on that, but I think we at least needed one person to meet that criteria.
Right. We need at least one person. And Curtis does live in the district. In addition of these other people that we asked for additional information, I think Bridget Phillips lives in Oakwood. And that's it in terms of historic landmarks or districts.
Yeah. what were
I
her
will say it
credentials?
does not hurt to have a wide pool for COA,
Mm.
even if we don't immediately place them on the COA committee, just to have someone in reserve.
I agree that we don't want to wind up in a box next year either. If we can help it. That's kind of interesting though, out of all these names, that Bridget Phillips is the only one other than Curtis living in one of these districts.
That
Now,
we asked for additional information.
we had other names.
Right. Fred Davis lives in Oakwood. He's the person that you talked to about something else, and you were asking about his wife, and then he said he was interested. He's in public relations, but he lives in Oakwood.
Yeah, and he goes by Mike.
Okay.
But that's that guy. I knew we had at least him. And were there others? Do y'all remember? Anybody from Boylan Heights?
No.
Who else on the commission lives in a district right now?
Travis.
Travis.
Berchet? What?
No.
Berchet does not.
No.
Harold
Travis.
does not. John does. He's in Glenwood,
Yes.
Brooklyn.
Travis.
Janine does not.
Janine does
Nick, you
not.
do. So we've got Nick,
Susan does.
John, and Travis,
Oakwood.
and Susan.
Oh yeah, Susan in Oakwood. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that tells me that we probably need to lean that way to add some. That sounds kind of skimpy. So maybe we better focus on being sure we got that covered.
So if we put Curtis on, we will still have 4 people, which is the requirement.
I would say that we better look at, I'm looking down my notes from the last meeting. I'm thinking we better get one more, because other thing is that I predict that I've learned that Curtis and his wife are working on building a cabin, maybe for eventual retirement somewhere in the backwoods of Maine. And so I wonder if they will be here 6 years from now. And so if that's the case, then we might want to pull in one of these. Did the Dillwig guy live in a district?
No.
Okay.
He lives back off of the cemetery, but not in Oakwood proper. He's like in between Glasscock and Brookside, back there where Tiny Town used to be, in that area. But he lives in a 1925 bungalow.
Okay. So we've come full circle to the bungalow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do y'all think about I wonder if we shouldn't give the nod to Bridget Phillips so that we have one male, one female.
Yeah, so she's an archaeologist. She has a degree in archaeology.
Now, the other way we could do it is we could do her and we could do Curtis. And if we thought there was somebody else really good, we could send forward 3 names or whatever to the city council, if we thought that was important. And that way we wouldn't have them, maybe less chance of us getting blindsided by the city council. Or do you think?
So have you all done that before?
I think we have done I think we have given more than just the minimum number of names before, maybe when we weren't sure. Now, I do think that Curtis's name got put up maybe 4 years ago, maybe when I got a spot, and I don't know whether his name went to the council and he didn't get it, or whether he didn't get out of the committee at the time. I don't know, but I kind of thought that somewhere back there in the past, his name had come up before. Now this time he didn't. If he might not have put in his name, except I encouraged him to do so. So that I'm just telling you everything that I know about all this.
Okay.
Do you all feel an inclination to just do these two and leave it alone, or do you feel strongly about a third name?
I don't feel strongly about a third name, but I do have some hesitancy in putting up more than two names, because then that we'll be having them compete against themselves. Although, you know, we really don't have any control of what city council does. Somebody else could put up somebody and it still would be competing with the two we had recommended.
And some of these people might decide they would just reach out to their city council person and get on anyway, if they really wanted to.
They could, but I doubt it. But
yeah.
But they could, yes, they could.
So, Colette, Aaron, I know you all want to be the staff for whoever the council puts on there, but at the same time, within this meeting right here, you can tell us what you really think.
We think these people are excellent.
Yeah, I did go and double check because I wanted to make sure we're considering what we have to do in terms of cushion. And I was just curious about the 4 versus 3 members needing to be in the district. And it is only 3 that are required, 25% of the 12. So we're technically at, we've got a +1 right now. So if we replaced you, Nick, with Curtis, we'd still be at +1 at that point. So we're not necessarily tied to 2 people from the district. So, you know, more the merrier.
Well, then we're back, so we can circle back and think a little bit more again about what strengths we need to be sure we have.
Well, 2 of these candidates have degrees in historic preservation, Carolyn Gimble and Sandy Feaster. Carolyn Gimble has a bachelor in anthropology and a master of arts in historic preservation planning. Sandy Feaster has she has a master's in historic preservation, and she also, I think she's completed all of the coursework for a PhD, but hasn't done the dissertation in environmental design and planning.
Those are great credentials. Do you think that the archaeology piece from Bridget Phillips would give her an edge as far as COA?
I mean, a perspective we don't have currently.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Gaston. Hello, Gaston.
Hello.
So Gaston, to catch you up, we need 2 people. We're sort of lenient, and we have 4 people that live in a district right now. We're only required to have 3. I will go off. That will put us back to 3. We should probably have at least one of these people be somebody who would be in the district. And then we need to look at who would be helpful in the COA process. So we were sort of leaning to Curtis Casebang, that's been on the commission before, and he is a design person. Then we had an applicant here, former architect with Clearscapes, and I've been calling him Dealwig, and that's not exactly right. But he's an architect by training, but he doesn't live in the district. And then we got Bridget Phillips, who has an archaeology background, who does live in Oakwood. And then we have Mike Davis, who lives in Oakwood, but his background is in communications. And then we had the two that Kay was just talking about, Feaster and Gamble, both have degrees in historic preservation. So we got a lot of talent here. It's just a question of breaking one way or the other on the balance of design people for COA and how many spares do you need to be sure you're okay on connections to the regulated neighborhoods.
And then we also have Keith Donahue, who has lived in 3 renovated historic properties, 2 overseas and 1 in Raleigh, for a different perspective. But
Yeah.
Or refresh my recollection on one thing. Last time we talked, and before we had some of these new applicants, we spoke of the fellow who'd been on the commission before, and we thought that as a member of the COA, he would help mentor or give some expertise from the past in that role. Didn't we speak of him that way?
Yes.
yes, that would be Curtis.
That's Curtis. He has been on it before on the COA, and he's on the Design Review Advisory Committee now. And so that would be useful. So I think we were sort of thinking about him and who else. And Kay was opining that she was disinclined to give more than the requisite number of names to the city council, so we didn't have our nominees competing with each other. And so we would just come up with 2 names, even though theoretically we could give the council 3 and let them decide what would happen. So if we were but we got a lot of great names here. And so we got Donahue with a construction background, as well as and construction and historic preservation. And we got 2 who have degrees in historic preservation of one sort or another, and then an archaeologist in Bridget Phillips, and she actually lives in the district. And then I kind of thought we should probably try to have 1 male, 1 female if we can get them.
Well, there was one, y'all correct me, people who are late for meetings should never say anything in the meeting, but just forgive me for being late. And I'd make up some excuse, but I don't have one. There was one person that caught our eye that was female, maybe it's Sandy. If somebody had expertise in IT that we thought might be useful in our interest in beefing up our website use. Maybe I'm mistaken. Just okay, so you don't remember. I may have made that up. Thought one of them had some.
Was that the Charlie Blunt guy? I made a note that he would be useful for research.
No, he's not an IT person. Let me see.
I could be wrong. I've shuffled through quite a few of them, and I don't. All right, there they are.
Well, Kay and I could get this decided in about the next 90 seconds, but we won't have to live with the results. And so I kind of think we need to be sure we're getting everything we need from the rest of you. And unfortunately, Colette and Aaron are a little bit like when you go to the restaurant and no matter what you order, the server says perfect.
It all looks good.
Yeah, there are so many good options. I don't think y'all are gonna pick anybody who's not gonna work out well. If I got my pick of the litter, I would choose one of those masters in historic preservation because I know that they've got the training to come in and do what they need to do, and it makes our lives easier. But I don't think you need a master's in historic preservation to serve on a local preservation commission either. So,
How does archaeology fit in that thinking?
What now?
How does archaeology fit in Aaron's thinking? Bridget Phillips, an archaeologist?
Yeah,
Colette pointed out we don't have that skill set currently on the commissions.
So the only archaeologist we ever get to consult with is Caleb through the research committee, which I don't know when he was last officially on the commission, but it's been a while.
He and I came on at the same time, so 4 years ago. He opted not to be up after his first term and then went on the research committee.
okay.
So
Well, it has value in, or it could end up having value in Oberlin, and there may be a place or two in South Park where it could matter, I think. I don't think it's going to matter much in Boylan Heights or Oakwood.
And there's a gender consideration.
Yeah.
Are the other two planners both male?
no, they're both female.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe archaeology would be something that'd be nice to have, but that also could be on one of the committees somewhere. Research or whatever. And then maybe we should go and look at the two folks that Aaron suggested that have degrees that are directly aligned with what we do, the planning part.
There is the option that you can consider is that anyone who you do think is promising and that you are interested in, offer them to be a volunteer on either community awareness or research. That's certainly something that you can extend to some of the other names.
Yeah, now, as soon as I can get my hands on a better, I'm gonna have to go over to Nick's law firm or somewhere. I want to print these resumes that Kay's been so good at sending to us and harvest them to be on committees and see if we can use that as a tool, because a lot of the work gets done kind of in these committees.
I definitely think we ought to sink a hook in several of these people.
And Charlie, I know Charlie Blunt, he's very capable and knowledgeable, but I'm not sure I'd want him on the commission right now. I think he could be good for many things.
Okay.
So he has been on research before.
All right. Well, then I think I'm circling back to Curtis and Bridget Phillips is where I'm keep coming back to. And then, so staff has been good enough to send us the veiled remark that Feaster and Gamble may know more and more about less and less. And
I like that.
So highly educated, they're of no practical benefit. So,
well, I will say Sandy Feaster has served on a commission and has also been a staff person.
wow.
But that was in South Carolina, and that's not been in the last.
I'm having trouble finding that one resume. Mick,
Sandy Feaster, I sent you hers after our last meeting.
I got it.
Or
Now.
I sent it on the 20. We asked on the 24th of March. She sent it to me, so I would have forwarded to you around the 25th of March.
And I picked up on the wrong string. I picked on the string where you confirmed her address.
Okay.
I got it, found it. Thank you.
Okay.
It just didn't show up in my list.
Yeah.
I think the recommendation that you made, Nick, Aaron, I think it's a good recommendation that we pick, and the recommendation we just picked two and not give them a choice. It's like not giving an infant too many choices.
But that does not mean that they're going to stick with the choices that we give them. Most times they do, but sometimes they don't.
Well, and obviously it's possible that one of these will end up saying no. But
Well,
I think that's pretty unlikely since we went through all this trouble to be sure they actually wanted it.
Why don't we stack them up as our primary two candidates and then a backup in case we need it for some reason unforeseen like that.
okay.
We're all here together.
Okay. So Kay, looking at Gamble and Feaster, is Feaster of an age group where she doesn't have the energy to do the job and not as enthusiastic as she might have been 20 years ago?
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not, I don't know her personally.
I'm just thinking, just trying to analyze all the way around. You guys ended up with me because I've had time to do it now that I wouldn't have had time to do 20 years ago. So there is there are and that's sort of like with Susan. You can catch people when they got more time when they're retired or semi-retired, and then you can catch them when they are in their early 30s before they get so committed they can't do it anymore.
She looks like she might have finished college in like 1994 or something like that.
Who's Feaster? That means she could clearly be my child or grandchild, practically. I don't know. Then I'm inclined to think that maybe she ought to be the backup. What do y'all think?
That sounds.
With her credentials, she could be almost any of our committees.
Right.
Yeah.
And as I said, I think Gaston, you're right. We need to take these people and pull them in. We could take the Donahue guy, for example, and add him to the DRAC as another panelist because he's done this stuff before and knows what ought to be possible.
Well, what? So you don't have to have a design degree to be on DRAC. He doesn't have his I mean, he has just lived in houses that he has rehabbed or been a part of the rehab process, but he doesn't have a design background.
For DRAC, we typically recommend that they have prior experience from being on the COA committee.
Oh, so you're using that for alumni?
Correct. Well, so they have the best experience to provide applicants, with how the process goes and how the application might be reviewed.
Right.
Although an interesting idea would be if somebody like Sandy Feaster has been on a different preservation commission before, maybe she's got that type of experience with a different municipality and could pretty quickly pick up what our design guidelines look like. Just a thought. I'm not sure. Colette, is it almost I think it's everybody we've got on the list right now came through our COA committee.
We would have to check how the bylaws are worded for the description of the committee.
Right.
Off the top of my head, I don't recall.
Yeah, well, we don't have to make that decision right now, but we need to.
No.
Gaston needs these names clearly in mind, and then we ought to be set up with the phone numbers, et cetera, and to call them once the once we decide, whatever we decide about, to tell them that we want them involved and maybe offer them a committee spot. And maybe, we don't have to decide that this minute, but we might be needing to pull this committee together and reach out to these people at the point where we're turning the names into the council and not let these people slip away, by letting them know that we had an abundance of candidates, but we want to get to them the next year or the year after, so that we want to put them on a committee for now. And divide up those calls, or make sure those calls get made. Let's see, the timeline on this is that we need to turn in these names, bless these names at the business meeting, and then go on and get them turned into the council, right? Be no reason to delay.
Right. But I'm not sure we necessarily have to have them blessed by the commission. That hadn't been part of the process before. I mean, we
Well,
just told them who we were last year. We just
Yeah.
told them who we were recommending. We didn't get any input from them.
Okay, well, and that's fine with me. I'm just thinking through the progression of steps before we do it. And but if we turned in these names even in May, it's plenty soon enough for,
Right,
for
yeah.
the council.
I think so. If the council approves them in June, and then they'll be ready to take office in July.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So it does need to happen so that they can go through the process of putting the names, putting it up, and see if the council has any more names to present, and that stuff. So we're at the point of dealing with it. Well, so I don't know, Kay, if we've got this part, we've got these names, then it could be that we want, and Gaston, do you want to get the input of the whole executive committee in slotting these people on the various committees? Or do you want to just figure that either we'll do it or you'll do it? You're muted.
I think you're on mute, Gaston.
Gaston, you're muted.
I don't know, we need the whole executive committee to bless what we do. I think we probably have a better working knowledge of these people and where they might fit than they might. I mean, I don't see that we're going to get a lot of, I don't really care, but I don't know that we can't decide that amongst ourselves.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I would say that if we had those new names, then we ought to offer Mike Davis a spot on community awareness, for example. And we could pull in Feaster or Gamble or both on research. And I'm not sure what beyond that, what we ought to be trying to do with these others. What do y'all think? We can actually have several on some of these. I think we could decide though that Aaron's idea about putting Feaster on the DRAC because of her prior commission experience was actually a useful experiment, unless the bylaws say we can't.
I was just reading through the bylaws and it doesn't look like it specifies that we cannot. They just need familiarity with the design guidelines and the COA process and to be, working in a relevant field.
Yeah. Well, Why don't we try that? It gives us a different perspective and and also it gives us a potential source of names when we need them. So if we go with that idea, offer her a spot on the DRAC and put a Gamble on the research, then and put Mike Davis on community awareness, then we can still let the others down easy and tell them we had a lot of names as it turned out, and we certainly want to consider them next year. We're certainly hopeful that the committee would consider them next year. Well, I guess that's the way we say it, because Kay and I wouldn't be around to be doing that considering.
Right. I mean, and they could be put on committees also, couldn't they? This time?
Yes, they could. Yeah.
So we've got John Zellweger. He's a design person. And Keith Donahue.
Yeah. Well, the people with the website issue are they coming out of what committee? Community awareness?
Yeah.
Community awareness.
Yeah.
I think the person with IT experience was Lucia White. She's a social media and communications something was her job title. She's 31 to 40, but I don't remember why we I had a asterisk by her name and then I had it scratched out and I don't remember why. I guess.
Well, subject to check, then we could. My sense of it is that between the website and the various scavenger hunts and things, we could use a lot of warm bodies on community awareness.
Okay.
And so I would say it's fine to put Lucy White in there. It's fine to put several of them. And because we'll figure out who is not actually going to put an oar in the water and help. So let's see. Kay, have you got a decent set of notes on what all we've come up with at this point?
I think so. I think we have said that our two people are going to be Curtis K-Spang and Bridget Phillips. And maybe with a backup of Sandy Feaster. And for committee recommendations, Mike Davis for community awareness, Feaster for either research or maybe DRAC, Gimbel for research, Lucia White community awareness. And we haven't talked about where any of these others might go.
Yes, I'm with you. That's what that's what my notes would be too.
If you want Blunt on research, it's what he used to do.
Okay.
He was doing research for Myrick for a while.
And he has been on the research committee of RHDC before. He and I were on research at the same time.
Okay. I don't know why I don't remember him. Is he the one that was appointed but only took a 2-year term? That was somebody else, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know whether I don't think he's ever been on the.
Okay.
I don't know. I just know when I was on research, he was on research and he had done a monumental research project in the Register of Deeds office, chronicling something.
Okay.
But I don't.
You got a great memory for this stuff. Okay. then, I think we're, are we there?
Okay,
Ah,
pardon me for asking you just to go through that quickly one more time. My notes are a little, I was thinking about something else. Could you review that?
okay, so for the two people we would be recommending to the city council to appoint would be Curtis Case Fang and Bridget Phillips. And if for some reason one of those at this point is not interested, Sandy Feaster would be the backup. We would recommend appointing to the committees Mike Davis, Community Awareness, Feaster to research or maybe DRAC. I have to do some more looking in her stuff about that. Gimbel on research, Lucia White to community awareness, Charlie Blunt to research.
Yeah.
Did we have John Zellweger somewhere?
No, we had
Okay.
Don Zellweger and Keith Donahue.
Well,
What's staff think of this?
You're just along for the ride.
You're never along for the ride. You're the backbone of what we do. We're just along for the ride.
you got it, you got that thing backwards.
You do the work. We just take the grief.
I think it sounds great. I think you guys made a comment that you wanted warm bodies on community awareness, and I only have notes that 2 of these folks will definitely be asked to be volunteers for that committee.
I have the same thing. And the other thing I'd note is that if you want to start experimenting with newcomers on track who perhaps were not on the COA committee, I think John Zellweger has experience out of everyone, having been an applicant before.
I agree with that.
Somebody prompt me to remember my memory on which one of these was a protege or a friend of John Reese's current commission member.
John Zellweger.
Okay.
And Keith Donahue, he's participated in COA. I mean, he's been one of his rehab projects went through COA.
It's not beer, it's Pellegrino water.
So we had Feaster as the backup, but we also had Feaster I was penciling her in on the DRAC, but you guys are thinking that may we be better off with the Zellweger as DRAC, and where would we put Feaster then, on community awareness?
Yeah, or research.
Or research.
All right, I'm fine with her on research, and then put and then put Donahue on the community awareness.
Okay.
Okay.
Curtis Phillips, backup Feaster, right?
Yes.
And then, but put Feaster on, presumably we don't need a backup. But we'll put her on, research. And I'm okay with that, although I think the idea of using her, because of her other commission experience on the DRAC has a lot of value too. But that's fine. We'll go with her on research, and then Gimbel on research, White on community awareness, Davis on community awareness, Blunt on research, and then Zellweger on DRAC. And let's see, what did we do with Donahue? I forgot, but we could put him on community awareness.
Donahue, community awareness.
Yeah, okay.
And was this a meeting where we also need to make decisions on how we're shuffling around commission members, if we are, between their various committee assignments? Or is this just to get our city council recommendations in order and we can
Well,
circle back?
we've given a slate of officers and, we can do the, committee things, but, I'm wondering, Gaston, if you want to take the list after we do this and you go through and tell people, here's where I'm putting who on which committee to balance it up.
Yeah, and I'd like to get some I've been, yeah, I'd like to study the resumes submitted a little more carefully in the existing list and talk to staff, since staff and you guys, actually maybe a second meeting to answer your narrow questionnaire and to go over what we think the shuffling should be, if any, other than this afternoon. I need to study the resumes we have a little more.
So I think.
Read them all, but I haven't printed them all, and I need to kind of print them and look at them.
So Gaston, last year, I think Tanya and I talked about it, and maybe the rest of the staff can't remember, but then I just sort of hauled off and did it. And then promptly got some griping, which is fine. You know, we shuffled a couple after that first cut that it needed to be X or Y, and it had to do with things like schedules and other commitments and the like. And so I think we did move a couple people after the first cut. And so, but it's in terms of getting a draft on the table, yes, and for my purposes, I would say to you, you and staff decide what probably is pretty good, and just put that out there, and then deal with the. But understand it's a good chance you'll have to move one.
Well, I think we should remain open to someone who feels they're better suited for some other group. We don't want them to remain in a place they don't want to be because they'll just stop doing any work.
No, I agree with that, but on the other hand, it will narrow down. If the people are fine with that and they will do it, then it just narrows down, because it'll take 2 months if you ask everybody to list their committee priorities from 1 to 4.
Yeah.
And so
Herding cats.
Yeah, I'd cut to the chase and then figure somebody's going to want to be in a different spot, and that'll be okay.
Gaston, feel free to send us an email to schedule a meeting, and we can talk to you about it.
Okay.
It's also worthwhile to consider that, you know, these are recommendations, and city council may choose to appoint someone else.
Mhm.
Have to rethink committees at that point, should that happen.
Has that ever happened to our knowledge?
I think a couple of years ago, there was a surprise appointment. It worked out well. It was someone great. I just don't remember who it was.
Well,
Well,
it may have been me, maybe both times I was put on. Because I didn't come, I know the first time I went to the, after my project went through, I told Meeker I thought I could do this. And then I think I mentioned it to Nancy McFarland this last time, but and that's the other thing that we don't have here right off the bat. We don't have anybody that, to our knowledge, is clearly well connected to council. And of course, it's an election. Sooner or later, we're going to have an election in Raleigh. And we don't know who we wind up with, because we're back to having a little bit of pushback against the current council by folks I guess we would loosely call neighborhood oriented, or making a big issue out of the CAC. And so we don't know how that will play out, but it is helpful to have somebody, if need be, can send an email or a call and be sure they're going to get a call back.
Well, most of these people are in District C. Both Bridget and Curtis are
Sure.
in District C. And in fact, most of these people are in District C. Donahue is in District G. Sandy Feaster is in District A.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, well, anyway, I don't think there's anything we can do about that right now, but it is useful, to have that ability if all else, if other stuff blows up. And of course, if it matters, I would be around and glad to pitch in on that kind of a thing if it mattered. I don't know that I'm very close to this mayor, but I'm still close enough to several of the others. So, anyhow, are we done?
I think so. I need a
I,
word. I need a word with staff after we, just a quick word. I need some help on something.
Okay.
Sure.
okay, so in terms of what I need to do next, I think we have resume and letter of interest from the two people that we're recommending. So I think what we did last time was I wrote them and told them that we were recommending them. They might want to contact their council person. I can go back and pull up my email. But so do you want me to do that before we have a meeting next week, or wait till after the meeting next week?
I'm fine to go ahead and do it if the view of it is that all we're doing is informing everybody else, and we're not asking, the job was given to the committee, and we know these people better, and we have more discussion about it than anybody else. So let's just go ahead and do it, Kay, and that way it's
All right.
it's a done deal.
Okay.
And we deal with it.
All right.
All right. So, I can drop off the call at this point, and Gaston and you all can take it from there. But I think your Coletta, if it was you that said it, I think it's a good point that we'd better be aware that we may get one out of the blue that gets appointed. And sometimes that's been fine. Because if they go to that much trouble, then maybe they actually did want to do some work. So, because that's even harder to go at it that way, I think. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. And if not sooner, I'll see you at the business meeting next week.
Be there bright and
Okay.
early.
We'll see you
All right.
then.
Take care.
All
now.
right. I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.